So this is now the trickiest part of the figure. I'm using a ball of the same coloured flesh modelling paste, Saracino, just measuring it against the body to determine if it's in good proportion. So now forming the eye area, so pressing in with my thumb and just trying to shape that indentation where the eyes will sit later, and then pulling forward the mouth section because Dobby's mouth sticks out further than a normal person's. Some paste to form a little former to hold his head in while I'm working on him. And then I'm just narrowing the side of his head a little bit more. For the eye sockets, so I'm starting with the ball tool and pressing quite deeply, and then shaping them a little bit more with the wider end of the Dresden tool. So they do need to go in quite deep, but at the same time you don't want any harshness, so I'm just going to use my thumbs to soften over that area. To start off his mouth, using the mini palette knife, I'm just making that opening, and then using the very sharp end of the Dresden tool, I'm just increasing the size of his mouth. With the other side of the tool, I'm just opening his mouth up a little bit, sort of pulling out slightly, just to make the shape a little bit better, and then also with the bottom, just pulling that out slightly more. Now to form the lips, I'm just flattening right on the edge, and then just stroking down with the tool to separate the lips. This takes a lot of practice, but if you practice it a few times, it does get easier each time. So now just shaping that bottom lip a bit further by pressing under the lip with the Dresden tool. So I'm just adding a bit more shape to his face. It is important to have a picture of Dobby's face in front of you when you do this. That's the only way you're going to try and create a true looking character. Just closing up the mouth a little bit more and pinching out the shape of the chin a little bit. So just enhancing that shape a little bit more around the sides, smoothing it out so it's not too sharp. Rolling out a carrot shape from a small ball of paste, and then just checking it for size. You need to check it from the side as well, just to make sure it's not too long. I've cut right at the end, so that's the top end where it's going to attach to the face, just to allow it to sit better and flatter. And then just using a bit of water, and then pushing the water over the top as well, so that you can blend that paste into the face. So I need to do this really carefully and use the tool gently. If I press down too hard with the tool, I'm just going to create indentations in the face, that is just going to distort the shape, and we don't want that. To complete his nose, I'm just adding 2 little balls of paste to form the nostrils. So blending those into the face and into the main part of the nose, again using this tool very, very gently. And now just creating a couple of nostrils. Just pressing in carefully with the very tip of the Dresden tool. You can use a scribe bat or a cocktail stick for this if you prefer. I've placed 2 balls of white paste, making sure they was the same size, into the eye sockets, and now I'm just rolling a really thin sausage so that I can form eyelids. I'm attaching these in place using a little bit of water. So I'm just going to blend these in slightly. It really doesn't take a lot of effort just to make those look like they're attached to the main face. And now just repeating for the bottom lids. Just going to add some nice deep wrinkles onto the top of his head. And some wrinkles to the side of his face and around his eyes. Just going to add a little bit more shape to the side of his face, using the Dresden tool and using my thumb to then soften back over. So as I go along, I tend to just keep adding detail where I feel I need it. I'm just going to add some more detail to his forehead. So getting some creases in between his eyes and over the top of his eyes where his eyebrows would normally be. And I'm just continuing to define that shape as I keep referring back to my reference photo. I'm just going in a bit deeper here with the creases between the eyes. I'm using a very pale green paste to form the irises for his eyes. I've made a paint from gooseberry paste colour mixed with a touch of alcohol, and I'm just painting around the outline of the iris. Trying not to use much paint on the brush, there's hardly anything on there. And just taking it nice and steady. If I did have an accident, I would just use a water brush, wash it off, allow it to dry, and then start again. And now with a damp brush, I'm just dragging the paint from the outside edge into the centre of the eye. So it's very, very faint, but it adds a little bit more detail. And now painting in the pupils with a little bit of black paint and just trying to keep them equal on both eyes. Gently pushing his head onto his body now. And then blending the head into the neck very carefully with the sharp side of the Dresden tool. I've used water to allow me to do this easier. To make his ears, I'm starting with a small ball of paste and then pinching it out into a teardrop shape, trying to make it a bit pointy on the one end and keeping it a little bit thick on the other end where it's going to attach to the side of the head. Also making the shape cupped so it's not too flat. Just shaping the ears a little bit further by cutting a small piece out. Again, I'm following a picture while I do this to try and achieve the correct shape. And then just encouraging the top part of the ear to just fold over a bit. Brushing the area with water, I'm now going to start adding the ears. I'm pushing the ear on quite firmly, and with the Dresden tool I'm just going to blend that into the side of the head. It's important that when you place the ears on, they're not too close to the front of the face because this doesn't look natural. So they're actually slightly pointing backwards, and I'm now going to just blend in the back of the ear as well. Just adding a bit more detail to the inside of the ear to finish it off. When attaching his other ear, I'm just going to make sure that they're definitely both the same size and that it's positioned in the same place on each side. So that's Dobby now completed. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial.